I gotta change a hydraulic hose on this machine, and it's sitting over here where it's at because I wanted to find out just where the leak was, and had to clean up the concrete over here, move my Ranger out of the way. It usually is parked here, and just cleaned the machine out. I took some panels off and just cleaned out a bunch of stuff so I can get in there and find out where all these leaks are. There are more hoses starting to leak in here. Of course, that's probably one of the most important things to do looking for leaks, is to clean it real good and then operate it, whether it be a car or a hydraulic machine like this, or anything that could be leaking oil or leaking anything that's going to leave an oil stain or antifreeze stain or whatever. Got to clean it off and then look for the source of the leak unless it's real obvious. And this leak, after taking this cover off, it had a cover like this one here. This is the 2-speed valve. These are 2-speed drive motors on both sides, and this is the valve that controls which speed you're on. And so we are leaking, obviously. It's seeping here just a little bit. These fittings are rotted out. This fitting is rotted out. This hose is leaking right under here, which is handy that I was able to see the leak right there, because this hose goes right through, back in there, and then up through this. I don't know if I'm on camera or not here, I'm trying. It goes up through this thing and then into, I believe it's going to go into this swivel joint that's in the middle here. And I took this thing to the Bobcat dealer and had him fix a leak on that swivel joint once, and that was $2,000. I looked into doing hydraulic hoses here, and I don't know. It's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars to buy the equipment, and then you never know what fitting you're going to need, because there's 1,000 different fittings, all different sizes and shapes and thread types and all of that. And so, not knowing what I'm going to need, I can't just invest $10,000–$20,000 into the equipment for making hoses, and then the stuff just sits here, and I'm only going to use a few pieces of it once in a while. So it's going to cost a lot of money to have these hoses made. Where is it? This hose right here wasn't leaking, but there was a metal piece like this pipe here, and it had a circle in it, and it got caught when I was digging through some trees. It got caught, and the metal part got damaged, and I knew if I straightened it out it was going to break and leak. So that part was obsolete for this machine, so they just made up a longer, extra long hose for it, put the two ends on it. Of course, I have to do that during banker's hours, and I got to take off work to do that. $70-something for that piece of hose there. It might be 4 or 5 feet long. $70-something. I don't know what this one's going to cost. It's going to be a nightmare getting it out, so I'm going to lose a lot of time doing this, but I'm going to bring this machine over here on this concrete, and I'm going to jack it up. Now that I've got it cleaned, I've got to take the bottom panel off and reach up in there, but I got to get it off the ground first. I don't know the best way to jack this thing up. I never worked in a shop working on these things. This is something I do at home myself, and so anyway, I just used the hydraulics on the machine to lift the thing off the ground with the plow blade in the back and the digger or the dipper in the front. And I got my jack stands underneath these wheels on the ends of the tracks on both sides. Got them that way. So, and I'm leaving the bucket and the plow down I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen, but at least there'll be some hydraulic support if it does, something does happen to it. So I just got to take this pan off the bottom. It looks like it's only got about 4 bolts holding it on. And get up under there and see what all we got going on. Because this hose here, as you can see, this is the one that's leaking. And it didn't leak when I drove the thing over here, so that must be just on the high side, the high speed side. I'm thinking is how that hose might actually go all the way across to this side. I don't know. It might. It might just go across to this side to apply the high speed on both sides at the same time. We got to find out where that hose goes. It's got 2 bigger hoses in here, and that's probably the drive itself. And then the smaller ones are probably, the 2 smaller ones are probably for the high speed, to lock in the high speed, which is bound to be just a planetary gear inside the drive motor. The drive motor is going to have planetary gears in it anyway, and then to slow it down and give it more power. So apparently it has 1 more set of planetaries that slow it down even more, I'm guessing, is what's going on inside those drive motors. I don't know. All this dirt in here, it was also in here, and that's probably why I've had to change this valve twice. And I did a video on this a few years ago, changing this valve, and the bolts were seized up in there, and that's why it's got these kind, instead of these countersink Allen heads, that's why it's got these on there, because I had to drill them out and then use all kinds of, it was quite a fight to get this aluminum valve off of there because it was cracked and it was leaking. Well, this one's going to end up doing the same thing with all this dirt in here that holds water. It's a good idea to take these covers off and clean that out now and then so that you don't have wet dirt in there just holding water. I got to fix this cover. It's got a bolt hole that has no threads on it. Anyway, I've got stuff to fix all that with. Got most of that out of there. There might be some more back up in there. I'm gonna get a light and find out. I'm trying to figure out how this wasp got in here to put that nest. How did he get in there? Or she, whatever. I just cannot get enough of this light. You can get these different amounts of light that come out of them. You can get them to go on different kinds of power tool batteries on Amazon. I just can't get enough of this thing. I love it. I'm having trouble getting up in here to pull anything out without taking this stuff off. I'm going to try not to take that off, but I did find a hole in the corner of this back here. I guess that's how that wasp got in there. So I'm going to dig around up in there with a screwdriver and then put an air gun in there and try to get access. And then I think I'm going to have to do that here in these holes here on this this bar that crosses over, that the hose obviously has to go through to get up into the hydraulics on the machine and to cross over to run this side. I don't know which side it starts at. It's got to start on one side or the other. We'll find out. And then there's another hole over here. Anyway, with all this oil over here, it's obvious that we've got another leak, considerable leak up in there that's dripping, and it's got obviously a hose that's going to blow out before long. I think I'm about done getting the dirt out of this little section here that's smaller and hard to reach, and it's a lot darker and wet looking, so that's got oil in it. And I don't know if it's just running down from up here, which I think that's all it's doing, but so there's leaks up there as well. Now I'm going to clean this thing out. I didn't get this yesterday when I had it sitting over there. So I'm going to clean this out because I obviously got to pull these hoses through all of that. Got that pan off the bottom. There's evidence of rodents or something playing around in there. It's got a bunch of dirt on it. And I got both sides cleaned out pretty good all the way to the end. And now looking underneath here, I see that all the hoses from the side here that's leaking, they all go right here to this swing motor or swivel joint. And everything is wet. All of it is wet with oil. So the only way to find out what is leaking up in here is to get it all dry and then start the motor. Start the engine up and see what's leaking. So that's going to be a job to clean all that. We got to do it. I got a lot of this wiped off with a towel or just rags, and I'm going to check all of these joints and make sure they're tight. It's the first thing I'm going to do. If one of them turns easier than it should, then we'll just tighten them all up. And I just want to note that when I had this swivel joint repaired once, when it was spewing oil out somewhere on it, it wasn't a line, it was the motor or the swivel joint itself. I took it into Bobcat, and I mentioned earlier that it was like $1,900 or $2,000 to get it done. And I just want to say that they put all these colored zip ties on the fittings and on the hoses. You see they got the red, yellow, white over here, and it's a smaller line, and then white over here is a bigger line. Two browns, one's big and one's small, or you know, and blue. So that's a good idea. I don't have colored zip ties. I would have to put something else on there, and like duct tape or something, and write on it with a Sharpie, a number or a letter or something. But I'm going to look into getting those colored zip ties. I like that idea. I ran the motor for a few minutes and I don't see anything leaking, but something is obviously leaking. Now, I did tighten all these fittings up as best as I could. Maybe I got one of them that was leaking, but none of them were really loose. Some of them did tighten up a little bit. After I change this main hose, or the one that's leaking over here in the drive motor, then I'll have to get this thing on the ground and put everything into play and find out which hose that is. Because it's running, the machine is running and it's not leaking bad. But before I put this bottom plate back on, I'll look into that, because that'll be another job. I don't have time to, I'm not retired yet, I still have to work every day. So I can't do all of it at once. Also, in this bridge going across here where these hydraulic lines go to the motor, there's a bunch of dirt and mud all inside this thing too. I don't know how I'm going to get those hoses loose through there. I'm going to have to, I don't know, I may have to have a fight on my hands with that. Now this side over here was not leaking, and these fittings look a little bit rough, but they're really not in that bad shape considering all the dirt that was packed in there. But if you look what we got here with this line right here, this is the line that's leaking on the other side, but it's on the bottom. And that's our problem. All this was packed in dirt, and all this rotted out because the dirt was wet, and it was just no way to keep it clean, so you got to take these covers off. If you got one of these machines or anything like it, you got to get these covers off and clean that out now and then. Got that hose off of there. That fitting is really rotten, but I got to take all this off to get that fitting off of there, and I'm probably going to open up another can of worms doing that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave that fitting in there, because I hardly ever use this machine anyway, and I'm just going to try to keep this clean in here, because really all these hydraulic lines need to be replaced. But I got underneath here, and there's a clamp. I loosened that up. This is still jam-packed with dirt in here, and I started pulling on this line here. It was easiest to get to, and that's the one that started pulling this one here back out. So that's the line, the one with the blue zip tie on it. So I got to clean all this out and make room to pull that line out of there. I'm a couple hours later, still cleaning this housing, this part of this frame out where the hose goes through, and I'm making headway. It's getting looser and looser, but I really got to be careful, because if I try to pull that hose out of there, and whatever I tie to the end of it, I really should have some kind of a fitting screwed on to the end of it, and screwed onto another hose or something, which I got to bring this hose in and match it up, and they'll have to make it. They don't make parts for this machine like that stock anymore. You have to bring it in and have the shop make one. So I don't know, I'd have to cut this thing open with a torch to feed a hose through there if I get that caught and I can't get it, fish it through like that. So I'm making headway, but it's slow. I think I got that passageway cleaned out enough to get this through there, but what I'm going to do is thread this air hose. The thread does fit. It's not a perfect fit, because this is a tapered pipe thread here, and this one's not. This one goes on a ball end, so it's not tapered. But it threads in there anyway, and I'm going to thread it in there, and then wrap some tape around it, and then try to pull that through out the other side there, because I got to have something to pull it back out with when I get the new hose. Okay, I'm ready to take a chance with this. I can't really do it on camera, I don't think, so I'm going to just pull it on through there, and then I'll record after I get it through. Well, it came right through. I felt it catch just a little bit, but not a problem. So I can go ahead and take this off of there and leave this hose in here, and then take that hose off up there. Got the new hose made up. Got it screwed onto this air hose and taped around there like that, and it's already in place. I already pulled it through, and I forgot that I was not recording, so went and got the camera, come back over here and finish recording. So there's the hose right there that I put in. It's already tightened down. It's on there. It's my new hose. And so, yeah, I use that air hose to pull it through this funny area here. And it was a little sticky, but kept working it back and forth, pushing on this end and pulling on that end, and pulling it back out, pushing it back through, and then finally it made it through. So I can go in and take this tape off, and then I got a bolt in here in this hole, just a screw that I just grabbed off the workbench somewhere and just stuck it in there to help keep the dust out while I was blowing so much air back and forth through here to clean that mud out of there. So there's no point in putting the rest of this on video. That's just my job done there. I just gotta put that hose on there and then put these covers back on and let the thing back down off the jacks. Alright, thanks for watching.